sit back, relax, and hold on to your socks because this embossing powder technique is gonna blow you away. Hey everyone! My name is Brennan and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am so excited to be playing with some new-ish WOW embossing powder. Marion Emberson works for WOW. She's so amazing, by the way, and I'm gonna rant about her later about how great she is. Sent me a very generous package, so thank you so much to Marion and WOW for that. I haven't gotten the chance to play yet, really, but today I did. I filmed a video, and oh my god, this technique was so fun. It has a really cool mixed media look, and I think you guys are really gonna love it. Without further ado, let's get into this video. So a couple of weeks ago, Marion Emberson, who, if you're not following her, you need to do that immediately. She's amazing. But she sent me a package with a bunch of WOW embossing powder. So thank you so much, Marion. I am so excited to play. And once again, just a quick side note, Marion is literally one of the nicest people out there. She is so kind. I messaged her at 5 in the morning because she lives in the UK, so if I'm up, it's a normal time for her. And she is just so sweet. She is literally, she's the kindest person. She has such original, unique ideas with embossing powder. She will make you want to get a mini pancake maker just so you can play with embossing powder. I'm dead serious. Do I have 5 mini pancake? But in all seriousness, Marion, you're an icon. We love you, Marion. So today I am going to be playing with a couple of embossing powders. I think these were 2 of the ones she sent me. This was one that I had and loved. And we're going to be using it with an extra special tool that I'm not sure if you're all going to have. And I'm really sorry if you don't have it. And you're going to want to go out and buy it. And it's parchment paper. So we're going to be using a little bit of parchment paper today, a little bit of embossing powder, and a whole lot of heat from our heat gun. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so this technique, haven't done it personally yet, but I've been so excited to try it, so fingers crossed this all works. If it doesn't, you probably won't be watching this, so if you're watching this, it probably worked out. We'll see. So all you're going to need is a piece of parchment paper that you can kind of turn into a little folder that you can place whatever size paper you want in there. This is a 4 by 5.25-inch panel, and it fits in here nicely. I probably should have made this a little bit bigger over here just so I could hold it without getting the heat on my hands. But I can always just go in with like a tool and hold it down, so it's not that big of an issue. Use a wooden tool if you have one, because metal conducts heat and wood doesn't, but you know, it's fine. And then I'm going to be using a couple of different embossing powders. I'm going to be using this Pastel Pearl Mist Ultra High, and the Ultra High just means it's kind of like bigger chunks and they stay higher. So this isn't great for embossing with like sentiments or any fine lines, but for like mixed media techniques, Ultra High is amazing. And just so you can see, there's a lot bigger chunks than normal. Then I'm going to be going in with some Violet Aura, which is this deep, beautiful purplish blue. It has some glitter in there, and it is just stunning. I'm also going to be going in with some Fruit Tingle, which is another really fun purple that has some pink in there. Also pretty glittery, and it's really nice. And then I'm just also going to be using some gold embossing powder from Ranger. I don't have any from WOW, so that's the only reason I'm not using it from WOW. But Ranger embossing powder is also great, so it's totally fine. What we're going to do is we're going to take our powders and we're just going to kind of sprinkle them on. I'm going to start with the Violet Aura, because I feel like this would be a nice base. It's deep purple, and you want to essentially get coverage everywhere. I'm going to focus on the center. I don't want it to be like fully covered. Basically, we're going for one large splotch in the center with some powder going outwards. And I think that's a great starting point. So now I'm going to go in with the Fruit Tingle next. And I'm going to once again just tap, 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 tap. Don't you guys just love when I sing? I know it's like obviously your favorite part of the video as you're all leaving. Also, quick note, if you have a overhead fan, I would suggest turning it off if you're doing this technique, because you do not need the embossing powder flying everywhere, and that could happen. So now I'm going to go in with some of that Pastel Pearl Mist Ultra High. So you're going to see how big these chunks are. You can see how much bigger they are compared to the rest, but I really love them. They're really fun for a technique like this. Honestly, I don't even know if we need the gold, but I am going to go in with it. I feel like this would be really, really pretty on its own, but I think the gold will be a perfect touch. I'm going to go in with a metal tool. I don't know, I feel like it will give me a little bit more control. Because I don't want any like huge splotches of the gold. So I'm going to stay fairly high, just lightly tap. And by not using the whole jar, that will prevent me from like accidentally spilling a lot more than I intended, I think. Yeah, I'm really liking how this gold is coveraging. It's not giving anything crazy. There's no huge blobs. Nice and subtle. I'm actually going to add a little bit of white too, I think. So I have a little bit opaque bright white from WOW. And just because Marion has said this in her videos before, I'll say it to you all as well. WOW embossing powder is already anti-static. So if you're going to dip any tools in here, make sure they're metal. That's what she suggests in her video, so I will say it too here. And once again, same with the gold, I'm just going to be really nice and light with my tapping and do it up high so like the powder has time to separate a little by the time it hits the cardstock. Almost like we're just sprinkling a little snow on here. Okay, I'm going to tap that back in. Now, I am going to go in a little bit more with that pastel pearl mist ultra high, just because I don't want the gold or white to be like on top and the most noticeable. So by adding a couple of these on top of to where the gold and white are, that will just add a little bit. I don't know what it will add. I just feel like doing it, to be honest. There's no rhyme or reason. I don't want to lie and be like, I have a reason. No. But I am going to go in with a little bit more violet aura as well, just because that's on the bottom, so it probably got a little bit lost. But I don't want to do a big dump like before. I'm once again just going to do the nice and light technique of tapping it on with my little spoon here. And we're going to call it there. I like it. No more anything needs to be done. And I don't want to mess this up. It's beautiful. At least I think it will be. So now what you're going to do is I have already folded this over, as you can see by that crease and by when I first showed it to you, I think. So I'm just going to fold this over again. And there we go. So now I'm just going to hold this in place here with the metal tool, and my fingers will be far enough back where I don't think they're going to get hot. So now I got my heat gun, and we're going to hope it's plugged in. It is. Yay. So I'm just going to heat this up like an insane person. You won't have to hear it because I'll be in a voiceover doing it. So we're going to cut to that voiceover right now, and we will probably be a little bit sped up. But first, before you use your heat gun, actually, let me say this first. Wait for it to heat up before you start going in because it's just going to take so much longer. So I'm going to hold it up for maybe 20 seconds. So now I'm going to start heating. What you may notice as you're heating is your paper might start to brown, your parchment paper. That's okay as long as you're using parchment paper, because that can go up to 425 degrees. And since I have this heat gun on setting 1, which if you have a WOW, put it on setting 1, it will be fine with the temperature. You're not going to set your house on fire, or at least you shouldn't. Basically, what I'm going to be doing here is as I'm heating it up, I'm also going to be pushing my heat gun down onto the embossing powder or onto the parchment paper. That way it will like help to smush it all out and get it to flatten. And I'm also going to be doing that a little bit with the metal tool. We're just trying to get it all melted and nice. And it's not going to be all melted when we take up the parchment paper, but that's okay. I'll show you how to deal with that in a minute. But this is just starting to melt, and you can see it melting. You can see those bigger chunks starting to melt there. I'm honestly not 100% sure that this is all done, and I don't think it is. But what you can do is you can just wait a second, and then you can check it to see if it is. So I can peel this back, and I can see it's starting to get there. That's looking really, really pretty. But there are still a couple of spots that aren't done. But you know what? We can take it out of the parchment paper. What we can do now is just heat it from underneath. So basically everything, a lot of stuff on here is already stuck. But if I tipped this over, a lot of the powder in that center there would start to come off. And I don't want to deal with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go heat it from underneath. That way I can see what is melting and what is not and just focus my heat in the perfect areas. But this was a really good start. Okay, so sorry that I couldn't give you the best angle there, but this is almost done. Almost everything here is stuck down perfectly. But now we can go in and make this a little bit distressed and give it more of that gloss. As you'll notice down here, it's kind of matte looking. Let me put it in the light so you can see. So down at the bottom there, it's kind of matte looking, but up at the top, it's a little more glossy. That's because these are the parts that started to remelt when I heated it without the parchment paper, heating it underneath. When you do the parchment paper, you won't get that gloss for whatever reason. There's probably a chemical reason, I don't know. But you don't get the gloss. So now that since everything here is almost melted and nothing really should blow away, we can heat it on the front. And what's going to happen is you can see these little holes. Those will start to form and give it a more distressed look and it will become shiny. And once again, we're heating this up. I want you to be intentional of where you're heating here, because wherever you focus your heat is going to create those holes. So if there's parts that you really, really love and really want to keep, don't put your heat gun there so much. Also, if there are those areas that aren't shiny and you want them to be shiny, focus the heat there as well. Those won't turn into holes immediately, but they will eventually, so just be careful. Okay, and we are done there, and just look at how this came out. This is, like, so cool. I'm just, like, a mixed media person now. I'm Brennan, it's Brennan's mixed media corner now. But just look at how gorgeous this is. So I'm gonna chop this down a little tiny bit, just because this is slightly off-centered. I know no one noticed that. Obviously, you could never see that beyond how perfect this is. But I'm gonna chop this down a little, probably take a little off this side, a little off this side. I'll tell you what the measurements are afterwards. Okay, so I took 3/4 of an inch off of each side. So this part is now 3 1/4, and this is now 4 1/2. I think that was a little too small. You know what? It's fine. Can't really change it now. The one thing I will suggest doing before you do anything else is tap this over a garbage can on the off chance there's a little bit of embossing powder left loose, just in case so you don't make a mess and get it everywhere. I thought adding a gold border to this card front, or kind of card front, would be nice, so I cut a piece of gold cardstock that's 1/8 of an inch wider and 1/8 of an inch taller, so it'll just give a little bit of gold peeking out behind there, and I think it's going to be a really nice touch. So I have that gold border on there, and I'm really liking how that's looking. I think it works really nice with the little bit of gold embossing powder that's on there. What I've also done is I've added a black piece of cardstock, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, the same size as my card base. So I added the piece of black cardstock to the card base, because I think, and I was right, I think, that this card front is going to work a little bit better on the black than the white, because there's quite a lot of white space on here already. So having that contrast between the black and the white, I think, is going to look really nice. Now, it's time for me to do my absolute most favorite part of card making, and that is adding foam tape. Oh gosh, okay. And now I'm off to spend about 15 minutes trying to place this right. I think that's fairly good. It might not be perfect, but you know what? I'm going with it. And you know what? It only took 30 seconds this time, not 30 hours. So now we need to add the finishing touches to this card, because you know what? This is pretty. We need a sentiment. We need a sentiment. You know what would be really pretty, but I'm not going to do it? If you added like the slightest ink blend around the edges, I think that could look really cool. I just don't want to do that because I already have it glued down, and it would be weird to ink blend on like a raised surface, but that could have looked really cool. So I have this thank you die from Pink Fresh, which I think I'm going to use, and it might hang off the card front a little, but it's totally fine if that happens. I think I'm going to trying to think what colors. I think I'm going to do a white shadow in either gold letters or black letters. I think black letters, because I want to include the black in another portion of the card and just not the background, because we'll have the white on the back, like, yeah. I think the white border and the black lettering would look the best, I think. That's what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll do both and see. I'm gonna do that. So I have my thank and my you all die cut out, and then I have the shadow die cut out as well. So now all that's left to do is just add a little bit of glue to the back of these, glue them down to their shadow, and then add them to the card. Okay, so that is all glued now, and okay, I think, hmm, I'm gonna put it in the center. I think like right here maybe. I could put a sub-sentiment, but I don't think I'm going to. But what I am gonna do is I am gonna pop this up just slightly. These are some scrapbook.com foam little circles, and they're super duper thin, which is perfect for something like this, where I don't want to add a ton of height. I just kind of want to pop it up, especially because that background's kind of rough. So I want to, for whatever reason, add a little bit of more height. So by using foam tape like this, where it's super duper thin, it's perfect. And now let's try to place this. Yeah, I think I do like it dead center though. I'm gonna do it, I'll do it right there. And there we go. There is our thank you card. And I love how this came out. I am a mixed media card maker through and through now. All I'm gonna do is mix me. I'm joking. But this was such a fun technique to try, and I love the result. And I'm definitely going to be doing this again because it's just so shiny and stunning, and I love it. Okay, what do you think about this technique? I personally, if you couldn't tell already, really love how it came out. It's just really fun mixed media. And obviously, I don't do a ton of mixed media, but this was so simple. It was literally heating something up. That's how simple it was. It's so approachable and easy to do, and it's so much fun, especially when you start to see that powder melt, you start to see your creation come alive. It's just so fun. Thank you guys so much for watching, and once again, and thank you so much to Marion for sending these powders. Thank you all so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Have an amazing rest of your day, and bye! Happy crafting!